One of the big difficulties we have in getting people to understand holistic management is that it is such a paradigm shift. A way to get people to understand that is to say, to look at the question. Some people might ask, have deer here, a lot of deer on this ranch, and say, if I manage holistically, what's going to happen to my deer? Now, we only think in words. So if you were to say to me, I'm thinking of managing this holistically, but I'm worried, what's going to happen to my deer? I would just say, well, let's not do anything yet. Let's just keep training you. Why? Because that question tells me she hasn't understood holistic management. So no point in going into it. When a person understands that once they start managing holistically, the question is, what do you want to happen to your deer? Do you want to increase them? Do you want to decrease them? We'll do it. You see, it's a different question altogether. So it wouldn't be, what's this going to cost me to manage holistically? It's, well, what do you want to do? It's a totally different way of thinking because it's just a decision-making process. So there's no way you can say, well, if I change my decision-making process, how could it cost me a lot of money? Of course it couldn't, unless you decide to spend the money. So the first thing is just learning what it's about. And so Andy would be with his family, whatever it is, whoever he decides are the decision makers, or people with veto power, so it could be his parents, and just saying, how do you want your life to be? Think deeply. How do you want your life to be? And just write it down. And wow, that's good. If you want to live a life like that, what are you going to have to produce from your resource base? Oil, gas, this ranch, whatever is in this hole. What are you going to have to produce? And it's not money. It's, if part of your quality of life is that you want to be prosperous, then it'll be profit. You'll have to produce profit. So you're not going to take any decision here that's not profitable after this, because you're going to be working towards this, so it'll be profit. And if part of your desire for your family is to be secure, we'd have to say, well, what do you mean? Do you mean financial security? Okay, you do mean that. All right, that means a lot of profit. Now, let's come back to your word security. The more money you have, the more insecure you're going to be, physically. The most insecure people in the world are the rich. They're not the poor. It's the people with more to lose. Okay, so we have to talk. What do you really mean by security? Well, I mean my physical security in this community. Okay, then we need to know that. And it may be leisure time with your family. So it's profit, it's security, it's leisure time. And then the final piece of it, and most of you know this, it would be two parts to it, really, would be the land. And now we'd be back to our imagination. And what must this land look like 100, 200 years from now if his family is still enjoying that life? So get out of species, don't describe species, describe process, and describe this land as healthy, soft, vibrant, blah, blah, blah. And then what about behavior? Andy and his wife and his family have got to deal with people. So if you want people to be totally loyal to you, they'll come to your help day or night, okay? How are you going to have to behave? You and your family, how are you going to have to behave?
Take care of everyone else.
You're going to have to describe it. Totally honest? Are there degrees of honesty? Or is it like pregnancy? Okay? There's only honest. There's no degrees of it. So you're going to have to be honest. You're going to have to be caring, good attitude, to your neighbors, etc. And that, once he's got that, he and his family, and that means more to them than anything in life. The rest will flow. The rest will flow. But if they don't form that, and it doesn't mean more than anything in life, the rest will be difficult, and you'll struggle, and you'll battle, and you'll say it's too difficult, and you'll give up, and you'll go to the coffee shop and bitch about the government and the weather, and join the other ranchers. But if you get really determined about that holistic goal, that's it. And then you'd come to this land, and what would you do? One of the first decisions you'd have to make is run animals, isn't it? Now, what if his family didn't have oil, gas, anything else? What if they only had this bit of land? Or what if they said, no, the oil and gas is all going to other investments and security. We're going to develop this from the solar energy right here. So what would you do? If they didn't even have money to buy cattle, what would you do?
Call your neighbors and have them bring some cows.
Correct. You'd call your neighbors, and sit and brainstorm or whatever, and say, okay, I can lease out the grazing. Now, if I'm going to lease out the grazing, would I just let the cattle run anywhere? No, because they'll overgraze plants and you'll continue to rest the land. You've got two things to cure here. So you'd be saying, all right, I'm going to lease the grazing to you. I want you to put on X number of cattle. We'll work it out together. But I do insist on this planning process. Okay? Now, he hasn't got the money for fencing. Where's the fencing going to come from? Assuming we're going to do it with fencing. Where's the fencing money going to come from? From the lease. Now, this that I'm talking to you about now, okay, this was the one part of the charter trials run in Rhodesia in the 60s. Because I said you can double your stocking rate, you don't even have to spend money, you can generate the money from the land. We did an 8-year trial, and the trial came out more profitable every year. We just generated the money just like we're talking of, like this, generated from the land.